Hi parents, welcome to the 2020 curriculum night for grammar and writing. Um, this may not be what we're expecting it to be. It's not looking maybe how we wanted it to look, but I hope that I can answer all your questions here in the video tonight. If there's anything else you guys needed to know, please feel free to email me. I'm always available over my email. You guys should have all gotten access to it when I emailed you out the schedules for the grammar. So follow that email, use that one. That's the one I use for work. So if you have anything further that you need me to elaborate on, or something extraneous that you didn't know about or need to know about, please feel free to contact me and I can get those questions answered. But let's jump in. This is me. You guys probably are not familiar with me, only maybe what you've seen on Document Night if you're there, or from what you've heard from your kids. But I am in love with English. I've just always been in love with it. Reading, writing, grammar, spelling, which sounds weird. Maybe not my favorite part of English, but still can be really fun. I love to read though, and I love to write. I've done a lot of writing for plays, personal writing, like diary or journal, and I've done a lot of writing with scripts actually for theater, that stuff that's gotten performed, in fact, at Trinity Christian College, which is where I just graduated from. These are photos from when I was student teaching. This is on my last day, and this is on my last day at Independence Junior High School. This is me with another student teacher receiving our gift cake. It was really kind. The students put together something for us. And then this is me and the teachers who I was placed with over the year I was there with them. Trinity Christian College is really great. I was there for 2 years. It was very unexpected that I transferred there, but it was a very warm and welcoming environment. I made a lot of great friends, whether they're in the education department or just on campus. I ended up living with some of my very closest friends, and I spent a lot of time involved on campus, whether that was working 2 jobs at the coffee shop or with student activities, or if I was at the theater, or on trips for Multicultural Club or AAA Club. It was just like a lot of involvement, which was harrowing and difficult, but worthwhile. I really enjoyed myself there, and I'm glad I was able to get the 2 years I did, even if they were cut short. I actually found TCS through a mutual friend from Trinity Christian College. Her name is Sydney Tiemans. She's another teacher from the program that graduated the same semester I did. And Kayla Beckermeyer had known Sydney through a mutual family friend, and Kayla had reached out letting people know, like, hey, if you know any teachers who are looking for a job, specifically English teachers, please let them know that we're looking. And Sydney reached out to me and said, hey, you should apply. And I almost didn't. I was working a 6 a.m. to a 6 p.m. job as a summer camp counselor. It was really tiring. It was hard to motivate myself to, after that long of a day, outside every day with hundreds of kids, to sit down and do an application. But I felt God calling me. I really felt like He had put that in front of me to reach out to and attempt to get a job here. And it ended up working out really well. TCS really needed somebody, and I really needed some place to work. And it's not just out of desperation. This place is just wonderful. I've enjoyed my time here, and I've been really enjoying getting to know the kids who are just great. They're just always so fun. I have just like a blast every day. I go home tired, not because it was a hard day, but because it was a fun day. And I appreciate that from your kids. But beside the point, let's move on. Classroom management. For me, it does focus a lot on the Eagle Zone. We'll get more into that with the students as the weeks go on. These first few weeks have been kind of a getting used to the flow of things after being gone for so long. So Eagle Zone hasn't been very prominent, but starting like middle of this week, end of this week, it's going to be a lot more prominent and a lot more cracking down on bathroom trips, forgetting items, tardies. That stuff is going to start becoming more strict. That has to do with these 3 things of it's respectful to show up on time, it's respectful to be paying attention in class, it's respectful to bring everything you need to show that you care and that you know what you need to do. Respect to each other and to the teacher is very important to me. If I feel like any student is disrespecting themselves, another student, or me, or the stuff that we're talking about, that's an immediate, like, discussion. That is something that we need to one-on-one. The same thing comes down to kindness. If they're not respecting each other, they're not being kind to each other. And if we can't be kind to each other, then we need to have a serious conversation. I base a lot of my discipline in management based on how we treat each other as people. We are all God's people. We're made in His image, and that means that each person deserves respect, kindness, and especially honesty. Lies fly around, gossip flies around, especially in middle school, and things can get blown out of proportion really quickly. And the best way to quell that issue is to be honest with each other. Tell each other how we feel, what was said, what was done, and not come to each other in anger or in jealousy or in hate, but in kindness and respect. And so those are my big points in the classroom, that the students follow these rules and expectations, that they are respectful, they are kind, and they are honest. And then our last point for tonight deals a lot more with curriculum and what the day-to-day activities in the classroom may be. So first thing, on Tuesdays we do spelling. We'll have a spelling test every Tuesday unless we miss a Monday, then it'll be pushed off. Or a Tuesday, then it'll be pushed off. The test will focus on the list that I give them the week before. It'll be 10 words. They'll need to know how to spell the word, the definition of the word, and the part of speech. And we'll go over specifically with the students what more deeply that'll look like. The lists themselves will come from me. A lot of them will be similar to what Mrs. DePhillips had been using before. So parents who have kids who have been here before, probably you won't be surprised by the lists that they get. They're going to be almost exactly the same unless I find things that I don't think they need to know. But Wendy was very, very devoted and did a great job coming up with really fantastic lists of what they need to be covered. Words that I think are very useful and very common that these students really need to know. As for grammar, we're going to be doing a lot of work out of workbooks. You'll probably see those come home once in a while. We aim to keep that work simple enough that they can be done in class every day. We will introduce a concept specifically on Mondays. For example, this week we did prepositions, and I introduced prepositions to the class. We covered it in a mini lesson. Then we had time after that to work in our workbooks covering some pages. On Tuesday is our spelling day, so we won't be working the grammar books. And then on Wednesdays, we will be giving some time to work in class so that any students who may have a busy home life, do sports, are dealing with things at home, that if that's something they can't complete there, we'll have time either in study hall or in class to be working on that stuff. That's hopefully to avoid the need for those books to go home at all. As for tests, we're keeping it very much the same. Those tests will be cumulative tests at the end of each quarter, and then one major one at the end of the year. So those things, specifically those tests, will be covering the different sections we cover each week. So I'll be expecting the students to be going back in their workbooks to study, utilizing the pages that we cover for curriculum, pages that we cover for practice, so that when we come back to those at the end of each quarter, they will have those materials to be able to supplement what they've been learning and remind themselves of what they've learned. For journals, that's something that is really unique to me this year. Mrs. DePhillips used journals, just maybe not as practically or commonly as I would like to. How we'll be doing it is every day I'll be giving the students a prompt that's just some short idea of some sort or creative writing idea that will help them practice their personal writing. Wendy was really big on formal writing, which is important, and we'll get to that soon. But I also want the kids to develop a love for how they like to write. And with formal writing, it becomes difficult to identify what parts of writing they enjoy. Is that poetry? Is that formal? Is that creative? Is that stream of consciousness? Is that first person, second person, third person? What do they prefer to use? How do they write? And I hope through the journals and through creative writing, I can create a love for them, for their own type of writing, however that might look. Tone, characters, they all have their own unique voice in their writing, and I'm hoping to kind of dig that out of the systemic formal writing that we do, and kind of set that aside as a place for them to let themselves be themselves in their writing. Hopefully that'll teach them skills of not only just quality writing, but also stress relief, how to think by writing it down, how to be more organized with thinking, how to put a creative idea down on paper so it's not just rattling around in their head. As for grading for that, it's going to be more of a completion grade. So the students already have heard this in class that unlike formal writing where I'm not going in and grading spelling or grammar or punctuation, this is a chance for them to open themselves up into writing and give them a chance to explore what they would like. The only restriction on these journals is that they're not allowed to write anything inappropriate for school. Anything that the school finds inappropriate or not okay for being discussed by students between each other or to the teacher or in class is something they cannot write about. If they have some topic that they prefer to talk about specifically that is bordering that line, they have to consult me before they write about it. This writing is not private. Although they're allowed to share it, I ask that they typically don't, though any journal writing will be read by me at the end of the week for grading, where I will look to make sure every prompt is completed. If I read things that I find worrying or that should be reported, it will be. So these journals themselves will not be private. If they feel that need to write something they feel that they're dealing with or that is coming out in their writing, and I find it to be something I need to mandate and make a mandated report, then I will. I've made that very clear to them, and I hope that they know that these are, although good places to practice writing, not a good way to identify issues in their lives. If they have those issues, I've recommended that they talk to a teacher or to a parent or a pastor and get that out in a healthy way. Moving on to something a bit more positive is our writing in general. We'll be doing a lot of papers, one each quarter. They will be the same projects that Wendy was doing before. I might tweak them a bit to allow for more opportunity for the students to get creative with their own ideas, but we'll be focusing a lot on tone, voice, making sure that we're using MLA formatting, that we are working with good characters, good spelling, good writing, good grammar. All of that stuff still needs to be included. And so it'll be much back to the way that Wendy liked to teach and to write. And so we'll be doing, on Thursdays, we'll be doing kind of mini lessons, topics about writing that they need to understand and know for their own writing. And then on Fridays will be our work days. So those are our days when the students can take a break, get a chance to go on their iPads with the keyboards and just write what we need to do for our projects. I'll be splitting those up as we go, so it won't be just them on their own. We'll have soft due dates in between so that they'll have chances to checkpoint with me to make sure that they're writing what they need to be, that they're in the spot that they need to be, that they're not slacking off in these papers, because a quarter is a long time for a kid and it can easily get piled up if they're not checkpointing in with the teacher. So I'm going to require that when, actually this week, Thursday, we discuss. Today, when you guys see this, they will have talked about our project, the first quarter project for writing. As for grading total, I developed it a bit differently than the way Wendy was doing it. I spread it a bit more out evenly. Spelling is 20% weighted, grammar is 20% weighted, journals are 20% rated, and finally writing is 40% weighted. Originally, he was set up as 25, 25, 10, and 40. I decided that I wanted to put more emphasis on the journals and give the kids the opportunity to voice their own ideas and show that that's a valuable thing. That formal writing, although very important for success in high school, in college, and in work, is not the only kind of writing. And I want to give them the opportunity to identify that maybe their creative writing, the stories that they come up with, the things that they write, are still important and can be something they can use to flourish in the world. And so I've taken 5 points from spelling, 5% and 5% from spelling and grammar, and put that into the journals. So it's a much more evenly distributed grading system, I think. And it also gives the students who maybe struggle with testing. I know those students out there who, when sitting down at a desk with the paper in front of them and their pencil and that's all they have and they're working out of memory, really struggle with things like grammar and spelling on tests. And they just don't test well. And so I want to give them the opportunity to show their grammar and writing skills in the writing as well, but to take away maybe a little bit of the pressure on those tests and put it into journals where they can be more of themselves, so they can still be supplementing their grade in a different way than they were before. But that is the basics on the curriculum for English and writing this year. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I know this may be not the most ideal way to do our curriculum night, but I appreciate that you as parents are making an effort, despite a mass epidemic, to bring your kids here and to be interested in their learning and to support them in the best ways that they need, because when they go home, we as teachers need you guys to support them as much as we do in our classrooms. And so we really appreciate all the work that you all are doing at home. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video and get to know a little bit more about what it's going to look like this year. Well, that was it. Thank you for coming. Bye.